Welcome to this episode of Inside the Gym podcast. For this episode, we're going to be talking to two guys who are really amazing at setting up sports performance facilities. Sports performance is a pretty big game out there now. Not that it's a game, but it's a pretty big market out there. But there's quite a bit of nuances and differences that I've learned from talking to these two gentlemen that make setting up a sports performance facility and really being able to do it well different than running a gym. So I thought this would be a great opportunity to have them both on, talk about what they do, how they do it, and let you know if that's something that you're interested in getting into or you're interested in having a sports performance facility, what you really need to be able to do it versus just owning a gym. So before we get started, Andrew, would you want to take this first and say, like, what is really the difference between just having a gym and having a sports performance facility?
It's quite a bit different. We are blessed to have the space to be able to have both. So we have 24-hour memberships, and we also have the sports performance side. The biggest difference is going to be, unique equipment, unique trainers, kind of a unique atmosphere. Like if a general member doesn't fit for the athletic side, then it's not really a good fit for both. So yeah, you just kind of need it's just a little bit different approach on how you advertise and, the people that come in the gym to create the specific environment that you're looking for, one that's more built on performance than is just, all are welcome here, but at the same time, like we kind of want to focus on people that want to be here and want to get better.
Right. Did you want to add anything to that, Jerry?
No, I mean, that pretty much hits it. I would say the specialization of the product itself. So the trainers, I think probably one of the unique things with the performance realm is really the intake process of it also. Most personal training is at best it's body composition and some generic strength movement or something. We're doing FMS, Y balance, dynamic strength index, reactive strength index. So the intake process and the ability to assess and reassess our clients becomes very, very important.
Okay, so one of the big pieces is like really just sitting down and analyzing with your customers before you even start working with them, so that you have measurements and things to go off of, so that you can measure a lot more things than just going, okay, like right now you're at 24% body fat, we're going to get you to 16.
Yeah, I mean, for us, that's probably we have an in-body that we do the body composition with, but really what it takes, we're in the process of getting force plates here. But, you have to have some sort of specialized equipment. So like we have a jump mat, we have a Vertec. Obviously, everyone that works here is FMS certified, Y balance certified. So it's the specialization of that. And then, other unique equipment for sure.
That was my next question was, you want to run with that? My next question was like, when I was at both of your facilities, you both had equipment that even at 300 different gyms that I've been to, you guys both had equipment I had never seen in other places. Like, so I'm assuming that having specialized equipment for sports performance is pretty important. And would you mind like expounding upon like some of those pieces that are really important that you need to have, or how you guys select your equipment differently?
Yeah, I would say, I think the number one thing if you're dealing with field sport athletes is space. You have to have open space. Most gyms cram a ton of equipment into a small space. We've kind of maximized our space and are probably going out and grow our current space where we're at, but having literal open space for them to be able to do change of direction, sprinting, et cetera. I actually wish we had a bigger space right now for some of that. So that's probably the number one thing, which isn't really necessarily equipment, but turf area to do that kind of stuff. And then from the other standpoint is, the assessing and reassessing, electronic timing is a super helpful thing. If you don't have a lot of space in terms of being able to run necessarily 30, 40, 50, 60 yards, then you need some sort of specialized treadmill that allows for that type of stuff. And then, accommodating resistance becomes more important, flywheel systems, things like that are kind of unique.
Yeah, it's 100%. Space is the thing. It's if you're building out a sports performance side, space is almost your enemy too, because space is expensive. You need to find that great blend of, yeah, we got a lot of space, but is it too much? And is it my overhead too much? So it's a really fine line. Like, we've made a lot of money when we were in smaller spaces, but the athlete limitation was much higher. So we've got a full running lane in here. We have turf, but basic members want to be on that too. And claiming that space and claiming that area, it's all a teaching process. For us, we've got high-speed treadmills. We've got probably our plyo press, our curve treadmill, our 1080 speed. We do have all the testing stuff here. Fortunately and unfortunately, I don't use it very often because 90% of my athletes are sprinters. So it's very easy for me to tell if they're getting performance or not because they run every few weeks. So I know, based on mechanics, based on experience after my 15th year of doing this, I've done thousands of kids testing. We have all the pieces of equipment, but I've kind of fallen off over the last few years because if their numbers are on the track, then I know we're doing it right. So I do have that piece that I use a lot. And I also train a couple local high schools, and they let me use their facilities too. So if I need some bigger space, I'll use their stuff too. But yeah, that's a great point. Space is key, but make sure you're watching, the cost as well, because it's up quick. I've been in that situation where we were too big for we needed the space, but it was too big for what we could afford.
Yeah, you both had equipment that was, I don't even really know how to describe it because I've never seen it anywhere else. Yeah. But it seemed like it was more for like jumping or like actually like your feet like leaving the platform, which and I was actually in Jared's gym and videoed myself using a piece of equipment and completely using it wrong because I had never seen it anywhere else. And like I got on a piece at your gym, Andrew, that I'm pretty sure was like designed for you to actually like your feet to leave the platform.
Yeah.
And I was like, I'm not sure I'm doing this right. And I just got off. I'm like, I don't want to like, it was a little intimidating, both of them. So is that those kind of pieces like something that people really need to get? And like, how do you find those pieces? And how do you decide, like, because, Andrew said space is super important and you got to have open space for turf and stuff. How do you really decide, like, okay, these are the pieces that we have to have? I'll take that one first, Andrew.
I'll go first on this one. They're not necessity. Like, they're not required. No, I would build into them. So get the stuff that you find the most important. Like, I've got my bread and butters, 3 or 4 pieces that I really need. I get a ton out of the high-speed treadmill. I get a ton out of my 1080, dumbbell squat racks, those other pieces. I was a part of a franchise that sold those pieces, and you can only get them if you're a franchise owner. And when that went away, I ended up just buying the pieces myself. I'm not sure if you're supposed to do that, but here we are. So I was a part of a franchise that sold these very specific pieces that were designed plyometric based a long time ago. And when I left that franchise, I bought them. So the pro hip, the pro press, the high speed treadmill, our inverse curl was made. It was a one-off made. And the other stuff, Facebook Marketplace. I just you basically assess an athlete. You're like, man, we really need to fix that. And sometimes there isn't a drill out there that fixes it. And you can find a piece that will fix it for you. Either one, you make it, or two, you go find it randomly through an old weight room or Facebook. And that's kind of how I built, was one piece by one piece. As I found a necessity for something, I went out and got something and tried to say, is this worth the space, basically?
Yeah, you both had, like, they're probably for your sprinters. The piece where you put your shoulders in and you lock your feet in and they're like resistance loaded. I think yours was plate loaded, Andrew. Was yours plate loaded too, or were yours selectorized?
Ours is we have a hydraulic reel runner, and then we have a run rocket. We just got a T-Apex, which is similar to 1080. So yeah, ours was a hydraulic loaded one.
Yeah, and I've never seen either one of those. I've never seen either one of those at any other gym either. So I thought those were those were super cool. I figured those out. So those are super cool pieces. So obviously equipment is, besides just your basic pieces, there are quite a few specialized pieces out there that you could be adding.
Yeah, I would say I'm with Andrew though. I don't know that it's necessary. You can do a lot with minimal equipment. I would say that one thing that I would highlight from a advice standpoint, if you know you're going to be doing a lot of training, like have multiple trainers or less semi-private, like group training, the one thing to think about with equipment is you might need a lot of multiples of things you program often. So in our case, like we are a little bit similar, I guess, to you, Andrew, in that we have just base members that are allowed in the gym, but we do a lot of programming for them to come in on days they're not with us. So like our back extensions, our glute ham raises, things like that get used, and there are often it is like people waiting to get on those pieces, and we have one of every one of them. So I know if we expanded, we would be investing in multiples of things that we program frequently.
Also, you have to decide: are you training a not so good or basic athlete to become better, or are you trying to make a great athlete elite? That's a different animal. When you get to like the real, like when you're maxing out their potential, you got to start finding the finite things that then you start needing to get those pieces. But if you're trying to make a basic athlete better, there's so much more you can do without it that will get them on their way for sure.
Yeah, and Andrew, much like you, we like it's kind of when it's come up when we've gotten people who've been strength conditioning consistently for 7-8 years is when we've been like, I've been, okay, we need velocity based stuff now, but you don't need a velocity tracker for a 14-year-old who just started. Like the basics get that done. Even a junior in high school, it's only been doing it for 2 or 3 years. You really don't need a ton of specialized stuff. But when you're really trying to kind of differentiate, velocity spectrum, like speed, strength, speed, where those little things really matter, that's when we've started to accumulate some of the specialized equipment. I will say from a marketing standpoint, there is definitely like the kids and the parents love to see the fancy stuff. So if you are in a gym, part of it is making money, but whether or not that's necessary, I would agree. It's not necessary for probably 95% of the people that we deal with.
So, okay, cool. But it is cool you're right. It was very cool, especially for me to go in and see some of that stuff. So I get the marketing part of it 100%. You both mentioned trainers. I'm assuming that in a sports performance facility that selecting your trainers is a bit of a different process. And do you need trainers that have specific specialties, or do you just need trainers that are specifically specialized in sports performance? And I say this as someone who's like never actually been like sports performance trained.
You definitely need someone that has a background working with athletes. So something like a CSCS or an Exos XPS, something that they understand how to work with athletes. In terms of specializing like per sport, I'm personally not a big sports specific guy. If you're going to have a lot of golfers, maybe you get someone with a TPI certification, but strength and conditioning is just that. It's GPP for athletes. So you're really across the board, your general strength conditioning coach should know how to work with athletes from a variety of realms. I'll say for me personally, the one thing that we get a lot of post physical therapy and direct referrals from surgeons. So we have a bunch of people on our staff that also have a physical therapy background. So our situation's a little unique, but I would say for the average person, unless you're dealing with that part of it wouldn't be necessary.
Okay. How about for you, Andrew? Do you like look for specific trainers or just people with that sports background?
Man, I've had it all. I've had the sports like performance side where we're throwing baseballs and working on velocity and looking at golf swing, all these different things. It's just not for me. So when I changed my model, 5-6 years ago, No, I'm the same way. I could care less about how you throw, how you catch. I'm here to make you the best athlete you can. Speed is our thing. If you're looking for something other than speed, I'm not really looking for it to help. Strength and speed, that's it. So my two trainers, one is she's one of the strongest females in the world. Her background's powerlifting and conjugate, but also she's just a great person, and it's a great fit for our athletes. You can really, associate with them, and I can teach the sports performance side of it as far as how it applies to athletes on the other end. And our other coach, he has a long background in training. His dad was a bodybuilder, and he was a power lifter, and he's just been doing it since forever. And he just is a savant at lifting. He can see an athlete and go, we need to work on X, Y, and Z. He can say this muscle's not working, this one is. I just kind of got lucky in that. I've had probably 30 trainers over the years, but I've had these two for years and years, and I've got it down to the three of us. So I do all the speed and agility side of things. I don't want anybody else messing with it because our system works really well.
Mhm.
And then I just found a couple special people over the years that stuck. And I've had anything from doctorants in ex-phys to nothing at all. And it's funny is like my two trainers here, their most experience is being around lifting their whole life.
Mhm.
They just get it. So I don't have if you come in here with a cert, it doesn't mean it can mean something, but it doesn't always. Like it just has to be a good fit because kids are unique and that relationship is unique. If you are really intelligent but you can't talk to a youth athlete, then how much we can do.
Yeah, to expand on that, I would say you brought up a lot of good points there. There's the balance of book and practical experience. I always say, if you're ideally you have both, but if you're only going to have one, I'd rather have the practical, the person that's been under the bar for 10 years than in a classroom for 10. And then I thought you brought up a really good point about the female trainer you had. The cultural fit is really important, and the ability to connect and motivate. So there has to be a real genuineness that your athletes know that you give a shit about them and their progress is really, really important.
You both brought up that you have open membership, and that was going to be one of my questions was, one, do you have open membership? But then to expand on that, do you have to be careful about how many memberships you allow to your gym so that it's not interfering with your trainer's ability to train your athletes? And how do you protect your training space from your open gym area? Do you want to take that first, Jerry?
Yeah, so far we've only been here for 2 years. We are getting to the point where we've had conversations about capping it and basically putting like a waiting list on our base memberships. Might be a necessity. Right now we get by with a really good culture and communication. So on the turf area, because our base members will use the turf too, there are literally times you will hear me scream coming through as a heads up that someone's taking off on like a falling start, half kneel start sprint to know clear that space of the turf. We try to keep a lane available for us, but yeah, it's a conversation that's definitely been had in the background on us, but we haven't had to implement that yet.
How about for you, Andrew? Because you have a pretty decent sized gym at this point.
Yeah, I mean our cheapest member is somewhat our most expensive one. They break everything. They're not super courteous on anything. It's a real cultural thing. Like when I do walkthroughs, I require me or one of the coaches to do a walkthrough before we sign you up. So if you come and say, I want to sign up, we have to do a walkthrough first. And I just make it very clear, like you have probably 6,000 square feet plus, if not more, for general membership. Our athletes are taking up this turf area and these couple treadmills. That's our space. So if you want to do turf stuff, you get this lane, that's it. And they know that it's coming. So if an athlete starts running, it is what it is. They know that's not really their area, and I've made their area very clear, and I've given them more than enough space and equipment to do their stuff. But no, our basic member probably costs us more than anybody. Athletes don't, I hate to say this part of thing, but athletes don't steal. They They don't break stuff. They don't leave a mess. They don't do any of that. So some of those things, when you bring in people off the streets, you kind of have to be, on top of your stuff with people. I've let plenty of members go who just aren't a good fit, and not because I don't like you. It's just not a good fit. If you're cussing and doing all these different things, it's not going to work for us. So,
especially if you're training a lot of young people.
Yeah, I can't give up. So if I have one member, like if I lose one athlete, that's roughly 6 members. So I'm not going to lose one athlete for one member. It's just not. It doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, it totally makes sense.
Can't do that.
So my next question was more on the nutrition side. You guys train a ton of athletes.
Mm-hmm.
Do you guys also feel it's necessary to offer nutrition? Do you offer nutrition? And if you do, do you have a nutritionist on staff, or do you partner with a nutritionist and refer your clients to them? You want to take that first, Andrew?
Yeah. If you want to be really successful in sports performance, you have to do the nutrition side. I'd love for you to just kind of do whatever you want to do, but it just doesn't work. And the results we've had with our nutritionist and without are way different. Like I've had a couple, even adult clients who do adult sports, really get stuck. Like we're doing our stuff over and over, and we're making progress in the weight room, but man, it's just not getting everything. And they go to the nutritionist, and it's like an immediate game changer. We have one that we're partnered with. She does come to the gym. She works with probably 70% of my athletes. I don't require them to. I just say, here's our nutritionist. I highly recommend you take advantage of her services. Go for it. And she's made a connection with a lot of them, and it's been very successful. I also train her myself, and I play hockey with her husband. So we're a close-knit group. If I could afford to keep her on staff, afford to pay her on staff, I would. But she makes more doing how she has it now. So it just makes sense for me to refer to her. But she has an office here, and anytime if she wants to use it, we have space for her. So very successful with it. We implemented that a few years ago, and it's been money for us.
Nice. And then how does that work for you, Jerry?
Yeah, I think we mentioned last time we talked, we don't charge anything for nutrition because it's one of the things I don't think we do at a high enough level. We do nutrition as part of the training services. I actually have a meeting next Friday at 1:30 p.m. with a sports nutritionist that we're trying to partner with, because I'd like someone that is more qualified than anyone that we have on staff currently. It's obviously, it all fits together, right? Like the physical nutrition, physical training, emotional, mental, all that stuff matters. I would like to go beyond nutrition at some point and get a sports psych in here. We have a very big initiative. Like my staff knows this because we've been talking about it in service meetings every other week. We have a big initiative on talking about hydration, sleep, education, that kind of stuff. It may be as simple as literally posting what color is your urine in the bathroom initially, and a quick 3-question questionnaire when they walk in. But we're trying to put an emphasis on the holistic, because you are going to eventually, especially with what we were talking about, this athletes need a specialized piece of equipment. Sometimes it's not necessarily a T-Apex or 1080. It is their nutrition needs unlocked, their sleep habit needs to be better. So as we're continuing to grow, we're trying to put an emphasis on the holistic model and be kind of covering from all angles. I'd love to have a staff of folks that do that, whether it's formal in terms of their part of our staff and on our payroll, or a partnership.
Mm-hmm. You mentioned sports psych. That wasn't even something I'd even thought about until you mentioned it. Is that something that performance coaches refer clients to very often, or?
Yeah, I mean, so oddly enough, with the Eagles' latest run here with AJ Brown reading Inner Excellence on the sideline, Jim Murphy, the author of that, was here in Lidditz, which is 10 minutes away from us, a year ago, and I got invited by a group to go over and see him speak. But that's definitely, it's something that comes into play. And then also, like I said, we deal with a lot of post-catastrophic injuries. So we do a lot of supported ACLs, hip labral tears, those types of things. The getting over the psychological hump, like we can put all the evidence in front of them that's saying, hey, like you're symmetrical, your everything is as good as it can possibly be for you to return. There's still that mental hump. I think every ACL I've ever returned within the first 2 weeks of being on the field has called me and said, I twisted, I felt something. I'm not sure if it's anything. I literally get that with every single ACL, and there is definitely a psychological and emotional component to that. That I would love for us to improve, because right now it's just us being supportive. I would love to have someone come in and take that from the jump, and we start working with them right away with a continuum of care.
Oh, no, I totally get that. Like, I tore my bicep tendon a year and a half ago, and I'm still terrified to, like, it's been a year and a half, and I'm still terrified to, like, really grab some, like, major dumbbell and really push to failure. And it's been a year and a half. I know it's good. I know it's not going to tear. But, like, when I start feeling like my bicep wanting to, like, go to failure, I'm terrified. So I get, now, Andrew, you work with, like pro athletes and like high level, like D1 athletes. Not that you don't, Jerry. We hadn't talked about the pro athletes that you work with and stuff like that, but is that even more of a thing with like the higher level the athlete goes from a psych standpoint?
Yeah, 100%. I mean, I would consider myself still actively being an athlete, and I talk to someone. The team provides it for me, so I'm going to take that. I'm going to take every advantage I can. Yeah, it's huge. Usually, the guys that are between the ears are the best on the field as well. You can teach athleticism, and there is a lot of raw talent out there, but if they don't have it between the ears, it doesn't really matter. You could have, like, I had a girl who in the gym was one of the fastest in the country, and then you put her on the track and she's one of the mediocrest in the state. And it was because she would get to the track and just lose her mind. And we got her to work with somebody, and she ended up winning state that year.
Oh, wow.
Well, without that game, there's nothing more. At one point I said, there's nothing more we can do until you go talk to somebody. I'm out of options. You are the strongest and fastest you need to be. I can't get you. I can't run the race with you, literally, because my knees will explode. And two, I don't think it's allowed. So I can't do that. I can't run the race for you. You got to talk to somebody. And she had some trauma and some other issues, and she bought into that, and it was just an absolute game changer. Now she's in college. It's free, so she can go weekly and talk to somebody, and it's made just an absolute change.
Yeah, an interesting anecdote I remember from the mental performance presentation I saw with the Inner Excellence book was he was talking about a top golfer that he was working with, and the guy's chip shot putt for X amount of money, and he asked him afterwards what was going through his mind as happening. He was not worried about missing the putt for whatever the X amount of money lost. It was the ridicule that would come from missing that. So it just goes to show, like, even at the highest levels, we all are still have the same sort of general insecurities. So sometimes it is literally just almost like the little kid in third grade that's afraid to get made fun of for looking stupid, going up and giving a speech, could be the thing that is the reason it's holding a top level athlete back. It could be something that simple. So yeah, it's definitely really important. Like I said, that's why we would really want to explore that in the future.
Oh, that makes a ton of sense. Yeah. And it couples right along with what you guys do, like, so well. The other thing I wanted to talk about, because I'm such, like, don't get me wrong, I'm an equipment nerd and I love equipment, but I really think that atmosphere is the most important thing. Atmosphere and culture are the most important thing in a gym. Because I tell gym owners all the time, like, your equipment might get people in the gym, but your atmosphere and your culture are going to keep them there. So do you guys need to set up, like, a different culture and a different atmosphere in your type of facility than, like, somebody would need to set up in a bodybuilding gym, per se? Do you want to take that first, Andrew?
1,000%. I'm not the head of the gym, but if anything happens, everybody comes to me. Like they know that I've set the tone for everything. The way we function is the way I want it to function. And even as a basic member, if it's not functioning that way, all are welcome. But if it's not functioning that way, they understand that it has to. So if somebody wants to go against the grain, it's just not possible here. The biggest thing is we want success and we want improvement. So if you're here to clown around, I have no interest. I tell parents if this is babysitting, I'm out. If you want to, you don't have to be the best. You don't have to say those words ever. But if you want to get better and you show up, I'm all in. If you want to be mediocre and this is not really for you, or mom and dad are asking you to do it, I'm all out. So I typically want my athletes' goals more than they do. I think about it more than they do. I plan it more than they do. And that's just because I'm ultra competitive and I want what's best for them. So that is the culture we run by. You don't have to be the best. If you just want to be better, hey, I want to make a team this year. Great. I'm all in. But yeah, outside of that, at this point, I'm 1,000% out. Back in the day, if it was money, I was in. But now, if I got to babysit, I'm good.
How about for your general membership? Like,
that's the same thing. Like, no, you can not get better at all. That's up to you. You have to have a good attitude and you have to be, courteous. If you just want to come in and do the same thing every day, I love to watch it. So people watching is part of being a gym owner is very fun for me because you just get to see the most random things ever. If it's damaging equipment, no thanks. I'll call you out. But yeah, like if you just want to stay the same, that's fine. But show up, be nice, be courteous. That's fine. We got a powerlifting team here, and they're all like super nice people. They're not like, they're not, what you typically see, and that's the culture that we built. They're very smart, very intelligent, hit their numbers. We host meets here all the time. So yeah, it's just different. It's a more athletic based thing. If you want it, you want to get better, even if you're not, it's okay. We're going to keep rolling.
Nice. So, how about in your gym, Jerry? Do you guys like have to set a specific atmosphere and culture? And how do
our culture is very much with intent. I think we talked about this in previous podcasts. Like we have 5 core values, which are excellence, caring, reliability, teamwork, industriousness. It starts with me and our entire staff. It's the stuff that I grade my staff on. They're non-negotiables. We define those behaviors that meet those things. And then it kind of perpetuates itself down to our clients and members. And then really what I tell people we are, if you want to be the best version of yourself, you're fully invested in yourself, whether that is you've never been to a gym before, you want to get started on a fitness journey, or you want to be a high-end athlete, we're the place for you. That's what we deal with. So we're very welcoming to anybody who wants to come in, but we have priced ourselves in a way, we have perpetuated a culture in a way that is with the intent of getting people who are invested in themselves. And then that also just bleeds down to other members. Other members start to care about the gym and care about each other's results. And the thing we would not tolerate is whatever word, but just don't be a blank, whatever that word is that you want to use. But if you're someone that's going to come around and try to intimidate someone off a piece of equipment, you're gone. Like I'm not. But if you want to snort ammonia and smash your head into the bar and squat 800 pounds, I'm cool. I don't care. And I expect our other members to be okay with that. Just like if someone comes in and they want to hang around just the dumbbells and the stretch, and that's what I don't care. It's just don't be a blank to anyone else. And then I would like you to be invested in yourself, because that's really it. Like the best thing about our gym is our culture. Like the hands down. Like I think if you asked anyone, like our community, our culture is just freaking awesome. We just hosted our first sanctioned powerlifting meet, and usually getting set up, everyone's on board, tearing down, no one's around. We were done with rewards at 12:40, and by 1:36, because we had about 15 members from the gym and clients stay, our gym was back in order. We sold a gym membership that day when we weren't even supposed to be open. So that it kind of speaks to the culture, and it matters a ton.
Now, I hadn't thought about this till we started talking about it. You both have sort of your open gym. Both of you guys are more geared towards more of a powerlifting sort of environment and more of a powerlifting sort of client. Do you guys find that sort of couples itself well with your sports performance, like leaning more towards the open gym powerlifting side?
Yeah, I mean, powerlifting is a level of performance. Not necessarily, not necessarily cardiovascular or anything over 5 reps usually for most of them, but there is still a performance end to that. I also think powerlifting in general tends to be relative to bodybuilding. Not that there's not egos in powerlifting, but there is less of an ego, generally speaking. It's more of a welcoming. I feel like the strength athletes generally are more willing to take someone under their wing and help. And again, there's that in bodybuilding too, but I think that like middle of the road bodybuilder, like the non-elite guys, tend to, I think their own insecurity bleeds into some crappy culture that I don't like being a part of.
No, I get that. And I've said multiple times, I'm assuming do you have anything you want to put on with that, Andrew?
1,000%. I mean, most of your powerlifters are ex-athletes, so it just works. Yeah. Very few people come into powerlifting with zero background of some sort. People that come to just a gym, not so much. I do want to comment real quick on the last part is, as a beginning gym owner, don't necessarily listen to my advice. Like, it took almost 10 years to get to this. So you're going to have to babysit. You're going to have to take on some members you're not overly pumped about. You're going to have to take on some kids you're not super excited about. You have to. You got to make money too. But we are just blessed at this point where we get referrals. So I got good kids recommending good kids. That's where you want to be. But man, that took 10 years. So
yeah, we've been super fortunate on that. We've actually been able to get to a point where we're hitting good profit margins and being able to take the type of people we want to take. So I count my blessings every day for that right now.
It's time. So like, don't listen to that advice off the hit. Like, you got to babysit a little bit. It happens. You're going to have some kids walking in the door. You're like, oh, God.
So speaking of that, do you guys currently, I know most of you guys, most time from talking to you guys, you're doing like, when you're training, you're doing like one-on-one stuff, right?
No, not me. But yeah, go ahead.
We do both. We do one-on-one, and then we have semi-private, which is up to 4-to-1 ratio. I won't exceed 4-to-1 just because I would say of my staff, I'm probably the only one experienced enough to actually handle that in a half decent way. And while some of the stuff is similar, we still have everyone do their own custom things. So if we have a 4-to-1 group, in essence, it could be 4 kids doing 4 different programs, which is very, very complicated to manage and do correctly. I think I have a feeling over the next 2 to 5 years, that process is going to evolve into something different as I kind of find my way. But I'm sure, Andrew, you've been doing this for a longer time in terms of managing the gym. So I'm sure you have a system down for that.
Yeah, I ran 1-to-4 for 10 years when I was with that franchise. That was the rule, was 4-to-1, and we crammed it 4-to-1. No, right now I just have a cap of athletes. So every year I'm going to take on X. So last year I graduated 9. I brought on 9 more. And we found that margin-wise that works really well. And for me, that works well because I know they're getting good results. We have 3 trainers to maybe 5 athletes at a time, and we split up. So they lift. They do everything here. They lift and they do their speed performance. So most of the times I've got like 3 kids, maybe. And they'll be doing different things, but maybe 3 kids. And I am in a situation where I've created a track culture. So now they're all in the same season. They're all in the same events almost. Like my 100 friends are recommending 100 friends. So that's made it a lot easier. Getting away from so many sports with so many kids has been great for me. But if you want to make money on that side too, like you got to be more in that 4-to-1 ratio with every staff member. That's how you make, in my opinion, the most money. But that is not what I'm interested in. So that's just me. I'm not the best money advice on making a lot of money, because it's just not my thing.
Is it possible to do anything bigger than 4 at a time and be successful at it, or is 4 pretty much the limit?
Go ahead, Andrew. You can answer it.
If you want to steal from people, yeah. I mean, I could run 20 kids in a class. I mean, I can do that all day, but they're not getting a lot out of it, especially the kids that I train. I mean, I've seen trainers take on 20 kids at once and they're all doing the same thing. And for the very basic athlete, that works okay. And that's okay. That's just not my interest. There's good money there. It's less time. Yeah, you can do it.
Yeah, I think it would be hard to. The only way I could see that being productive in any way is if you're training a team that is literally learning the fundamentals, and you have 20 racks lined up and everyone's front squatting, and you are literally think Joey Burgles, like where you're literally counting 4, 3, 2, and you're doing like we do that in small groups, like we count our tempos, but you would need something that's so simplistic where you're just teaching fundamentals to a group would be the only way I could see there being any benefit. Obviously, there's limitations on the length of time that would actually be beneficial to someone.
Yeah, I remember you guys are doing a little bit. You guys are obviously doing something at a much higher level, but I remember when my son was playing baseball, we looked at a couple training facilities around here, and we never went because I felt like it was groups and the kids were standing around more than they were actually getting any training. So
yeah, we get people that have been at other places that they weren't happy with their experience, where, an 11-year-old female cross country runner is doing the same program as a 17-year-old offensive guard in football, like, and the parents are like, no one's paying attention. And I mean, even our semi-private, like I would say, we had a couple days ago, I think I ended up giving 2 extra free sessions to parents. No one complained to me. I was unhappy with I literally, like, I was inside. It took a lot for me to stay calm. It just became a complete shit show. I wasn't happy. No one complained. The kids didn't complain. I just know it wasn't up to our standard. So I called the parents and said, hey, feel free, bring them in, tack it on, whatever it is. Like, we'll do another one, because it did not meet my expectations. I don't think, this isn't me trying to pat myself on the back, I don't think most places operate that way. So, but that's part of, like I said, our core value. One of them is excellence. So if it doesn't meet that standard, for me, it's, it bothers me.
Yeah, and
if I was putting that money out for my kid and they were getting that treatment, I'd be pissed.
Yeah, and sadly, like, sports performance at any place isn't going to be cheap.
No.
And not a lot of people have that same attitude, unfortunately. But that's why you guys are successful, because you do.
Yeah, unfortunately, I don't run into that because I'm overly available. So I train 7 days a week. Most of my kids are on unlimited plan. I don't do sessions. I don't care how many times you're here. If you want to get here, if you want to get better, I'm here. So if you want to get better, I'm right there. Come or don't. I don't care. I don't do that as much anymore. It's the more effective way to do it, because you'll get burnt out. I just love this. So I'm here 7 days a week. If you want to come get it, I'm working on something different all the time. So if we want to get a plyometric workout, if we want to get a speed workout, if you want to get a lift in, I'm here. So I'm the same way. If it's a bad workout, I'll text you and say, hey, that was just not good. We need to work on X, Y, and Z. And I wasn't prepared. So it's happened.
Mm-hmm.
Mentally, sometimes I'm not there. I've got things outside of here that pull my attention away. And I've had sessions where my wife's like got something going on. I'm like, man, I got to get home. And I'm not there. So we've had some shit workouts, and I still think they got much better than they would anywhere else, but it's not good enough. So yeah, I'm the same exact way, but overly available has been my thing, but it's also my Achilles heel. It eats up a lot of my time.
Yeah. My wife tells me I'm way too into what I'm doing as well. So
But that's what I love. So
yeah, same. I'm with you. Same. That was the only question. That was all the questions that I had. I appreciate you guys coming on. Is there anything else that you guys wanted to say or mention about sports performance or about your specific facilities? In case we didn't talk about it enough at the beginning, Andrew is one of the owners at West Indy Barbell in Indianapolis, and Jerry is the owner of Hess Fitness in Lancaster, Pennsylvania. Is there anything else you guys wanted to mention or say?
Not that I can think of. This is an awesome lifestyle. You can make it however you want. If you want to be a gym owner, you can make this thing awesome. It just takes time and patience. If you can find a way, keep going. It just takes time. And I'm glad that that part's over, but I also learned a lot of things along the way.
Yeah, I would just, anyone who wants to go into this, I would tell you, make sure you're all in. Like, this is what you want to do, because it is a lot of time. Like, this is, basically year 3+ of working on this. I'm still at like 85 to 90 hour work weeks on a slow week. But the only thing that I don't like about it is the sleep deprivation, the lack of time I get to spend with my family and friends. But in terms of when I'm doing what I do in the gym, I absolutely love what I do. Like, I wouldn't trade it for anything. So I think that's important. And then the other piece of advice I have is follow your instincts. If you're going to take a chance and do this, listen to people that have done it, take info in, but then follow your gut, because if you're going to fail, I know for me, I'd want to put my head on my pillow at night and know that I did it with following my gut, after collecting actual advice from people that are smarter than you.
Yeah, no, that was great advice. And I appreciate both of you coming on again. Thank you both. And it's been awesome. And I look forward to seeing you guys again at your gyms in the near future.
Cool, man.
Thanks, man.
Hey, buddy. Thanks, man.
If you enjoyed this podcast, please hit the like button and subscribe to our channel for more great content.